Hey folks, how you doing? Dave McRae here. Welcome to episode 102 of McRae Live. The date today is Tuesday, September the 15th, 2020. It's 11:16 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am coming to you live from the VoiceMann Studios in Toronto, Canada. I'm rocking a McRae Live hat today, sent to me from a viewer. Dave Vanderhoff sent up some McRae Live hats, some Two Dudes and Some Bullshit hats. There's a McRae Live hat right there. Pretty cool stuff. Thought I would rock the McRae Live hat today for all you sexy motherfuckers out there. Today on episode 102, this is sort of, I wanted to do this because I ranked the Michael Myers masks about a year or so ago. And this is kind of stemming from watching Halloween Resurrection last night on Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. And I wanted to kind of talk about this because, let me just put this hat over here. Okay, there we go. I wanted to talk about this because I had come to the realization that my feelings really haven't changed since that ranking video, I don't think. But I don't think I included Rob Zombie's masks in there. Did I? I can't remember now. Anyway, I wanted to do it. I wanted to talk about the masks again. I want you guys to comment below after the fact if you're watching after the fact and let me know your thoughts, how you would rank the Michael Myers masks. But there's a very specific thing. There's a very specific reason why I come to the conclusions I do. And I realized on yesterday's Two Dudes and Some Bullshit, where Tony and I were watching Halloween Resurrection, that I had said, and I did say this, but I think some people were left a little confused. Because I was looking at the comments. I said that I think the Halloween Resurrection mask is probably the best looking Myers mask outside of the original. Now, I think some people took that to mean that I think it's better than Halloween 2. I don't. I consider Halloween 1 and 2 the original. It's the same. Now, I like the way it looks better in the first movie on Nick Castle than it does on Dick Warlock, and there's a variety of reasons for that, but it's the same mask. So if you hear me say something like, oh, I think that's the best something other than the original mask, I'm talking about 1 and 2. I'm talking about 1 and 2. But there's a reason why, and I know that the Halloween Resurrection mask is not really a favorite among the fans. The Halloween 6 mask is. Halloween H2O, kind of. Halloween 4 is starting to kind of creep up the ladder a little bit, and it even has, for me, I have to admit that it's god-awful, but I have to admit that it's crept up the ladder a little bit for me. And there's reasons for that. And I think I talked about this a year or so ago, but I thought, you know what? We haven't done a McRae Live on it. So why not? Let's do a McRae Live. I wrote down my list here. I thought of it last night. It was fresh coming off of Halloween Resurrection, that dumpster fire of a god-awful pile of shit that is. And I thought, you know, let's do this. Let's rank the Michael Myers masks. Good morning, Danita Brown. Good morning, everybody. It's great to see everybody in here. Frank Riker is here. Great to see everybody here. So, yeah, and yes, in case you're wondering, yes, I did see the trailer that dropped today for Mandalorian Season 2, and I thought it looked great. Looked like just as exciting as I thought the first one looked. So I know I'm such a party pooper, aren't I? You know, it's like, it's like, yeah, I think it looked great. No, but yeah, I think it looked great. But I think it looked great. I don't know. You know what? I learn a lot about myself in fandom, and I don't know if it's just because I'm getting older now, or if it's because I'm jaded, or if it's because I'm just so tired of being, you know, fool me once, shame on me, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. I don't know what it is, but I saw the Mandalorian trailer and I went, yeah, looks great. All right, on with my day. Like, I don't feel the need to like, but I mean, there are a lot of people that do. Take that and put it in a video. No, I thought it looked great. I guess it just nothing surprises me anymore. Of course it's going to look great. Doesn't mean the season is going to be great, but it looks what I expect it to look. Like there's a certain bar that you expect things to look at, right? It looks visually stunning. The worlds look really cool. The characters look awesome. I expect that. The Last Jedi looked fucking amazing too. You know what I mean? Like you expect certain things when you're playing with with a certain amount of money at a certain level. Just gotta wait. I thought, great, looks great. Can't wait to see it. Okay, all of my day. So yes, I did see the Mandalorian trailer for season 2. So here we go. Okay, so there's very specific reasons why I decided again to do this, and it's because okay. So let me go through it. Okay, so. I'm going to go from one to last. Okay. I don't usually do that. I usually go from last to best, but I'm going to go from best to worst. So for me, of course, no surprise. And it's likely probably everybody's number one. I mean, not everybody's, but it's pretty high probability is Halloween 1. I mean, that's no surprise there. The next in line is Halloween 2. But again, yesterday, on Two Dudes and Some Bullshit, I said that I think I liked the Resurrection mask, and I made some distinctions. I said in certain lighting, in certain moments, it has a bit of an original vibe to it. It doesn't look exactly like it, but there's certain moments where you're like, yeah, I can kind of see a little bit of it there. It's got that spirit there. But I said it's the best outside of the original, or I said I think I like it maybe the best outside of the original, and some people again took that as outside of the sequel as well, Halloween 2. And again, when I say the original, I likely am also talking about 2 as well, because it's the same mask. It's the same mask. It's just on 2 different people. So 1 and 2. So yeah, 1 and then 2, and then the third in line here for me in this ranking is Halloween 2018. That would be the third. For me. And again, so yesterday on Two Dudes and Some Bullshit, when I said outside of the original, again, I was talking about like the original series, like before 18 and before Rob Zombie's films, like in that run there of the 80s, 90s. That's what I was talking about. But to be fair, I really didn't do a good job of making that clear, I don't think, judging by a lot of the comments and some of the messages I've received after the fact. How could you like Resurrection second? It's like, no, that's not what I mean. That's not what I mean. So that was part of the catalyst of why I thought I would do this show today. And it's fun. It's fun to rank these things. So 1, 2, 18 for me. And I have to, actually, before I continue, I also have to say that I always look for things that remind me of the original. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's very important to me, having the spirit of the original there. And for many, many, many years, this next one was dead last because it's god awful. But it's funny, the more, Dave, Darren, can we rank Loomis's sobriety in each movie? Darren, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. Let's do I love it. I love it. I love Darren's wit. So great. I love Darren. This was dead last. So again, Halloween 1, 2, 18. Those are the top 3 masks. Because I think 1, well, it's 1. 2, well, it's basically it's 1. And 18, I think, looks the most like those 2. It's like a hybrid of both than any other mask they've ever done. So obviously those are the top 3 for me. This next one was, I mean, if you had asked me this 15 years ago, this probably would have been dead last. If you had asked me this 25 years ago, this would have been dead last. Of course, there were a couple of movies still yet to go. But this has jumped up the ranking for me. And it's funny that it has, because it's a fucking terrible mask. It's not a good mask. It's not. By any measure, it's not a good mask. But I have to be honest, and I can't help but say that over the years, when I watch this movie, or I look at this mask, there are certain images of the mask that still look god awful. God awful. But dare I say that it's grown on me? And I almost feel like disgusting that I am even saying that and that I should go have a shower. But it has. And I think maybe it's because this is part of my logic behind this is that, well, in case you haven't figured it out, I'm talking about Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. Well, it's god-awful. But it's 10 years later. What are the odds that he's going to walk into a store and find the exact same mask? So he finds one that is, like, I think what it is that if you were to take the Michael Myers mask from Halloween 4, and you were just to have that mask, and there were no movies that preceded it, and it was just a mask on a guy in a movie. It's a creepy fucking mask. In its own right, in a vacuum, on its own merits, it's a creepy mask. The problem is that it's not Michael Myers' mask. So it will forever live in this cesspool of dog shit because it's always being compared to what came before, and rightly so. But I don't know if it's age or if I've just become a little soft, but I'm like, you know what? In that moment right there, it actually looks pretty good. And I don't mean it looks like the first one, but I'm like, it looks creepy. Like if I saw that guy coming it's fucking creepy. It doesn't look like Nick Castle in Halloween 1, but it still looks fucking creepy. It's a creepy mask in its own right. And I think maybe over the years, as I've gotten older, I've been able to objectively separate myself and look at things a little more, or separate myself so I can look at things a little more objectively when it comes to Halloween 4. I think maybe that's it. And I think, well, you know, he walks into a store, he sees a mask that resembles a little bit of what he saw, so he picked it up. And it's not exactly the same. No, of course not, because it's 10 years later. What are the odds of that, right? And those little things kind of help. And there's certain moments that I'm like, that looks creepy. Like, and I don't think it's anywhere, I actually don't think it's creepier anywhere else in the movie than actually in the dream sequence that Jamie is having at the beginning of the movie. When he sits up on the other side of the bed and he turns his head and the lightning flashes, and then she opens the door and he's right there and he does this with the knife. And I mean, if you think this, like, pretend it's not a Halloween film. I know we have to judge it on that to some degree, of course. It's not really fair if I say that, but it's got a creepiness to it. It's got a creepiness to it. Now, when he attacks Bucky, it looks, I've always said this, there's a moment there where it looks like Michael Jackson. It just does. And then, of course, there's other moments in the film where it looks just god-awful. But I don't know. It's grown on me. And I know this is blasphemous because people are going to say, over the Halloween 6 mask? And yeah, there's a reason for that. And I don't know. The 4 mask for me just has grown on me over the years. It looks nothing like the original mask. Of course, it's not the mask on the poster, but it's grown on me a little bit. I know that seems kind of weird, but it has, and that's where it is right now. The next in line for me would be the Halloween Resurrection mask. Now, this is where people get really kind of like, how could you say that? And again, I don't mean overall. You know, see, that's a distinction that you have to understand with me. When we're talking about Dave McRae and how I look at things and how I look at masks and the masks in the series, I'm very particular and I'm very nuanced, in case you haven't figured it out. So when I say that the Halloween Resurrection mask falls here, and any of them here really, apart from the first two, I don't mean in general, just as is, right? You can have, I mean, it's moments that the Resurrection mask looks pretty decent for me. And I'll give you an example. So here's the Halloween H2O mask. We're going to go Halloween H2O. Here's the Halloween H2O mask. You can see it here, right? Now, I know they used quite a bit of Halloween. I know there were like 3 or 4, right? They had the Halloween 6 mask at the beginning. They had this mask. They had that other mask that Steve Miner wanted to use but didn't end up using. They had the CGI mask. I mean, there were a couple of things in this movie. There were a couple of masks. But when I think of the H2O mask, when I say the H2O mask, this is the mask I'm talking about. I understand that there were others, and in certain shots, there is that other mask. And then, of course, you have, like I said, the Halloween 6 mask at the beginning, the CGI mask. The CGI mask, we don't even consider a mask, for Christ's sakes. It's computer generated. But when I say H2O mask, this is what I think of. When people want to buy a Halloween H2O mask, this is generally what they're buying. right? So this to me is the H2O mask. I think this looks like fucking dog shit. Now, I think the Miner mask also looks like fucking dog shit. And so this is a slight improvement over the Miner mask. Sure. But I still think this looks like dog shit. Now, when I bring this up here, which is, here we go. Oh, wait, there we go. Halloween Resurrection. When I look at this, okay, now again, he's in the daylight, but when I look at that mask, to me, in this moment, and in certain moments throughout the movie, not in general overall, but certain moments throughout the movie, I look at this and I think, you know what? That has there's a flavor there of Halloween 1. It doesn't look like the Halloween 1 mask at all, but there's a flavor there. There's an essence there. You make the eyebrows more white. I can't stand that they didn't white out the eyebrows, but you white out the eyebrows, you mess up the hair a bit more, you shoot that from certain angles. I think it's a better mask when we're talking about Michael Myers than this mask here. And that's why I put it ahead of H2O, is because when I look at this or certain moments throughout the movie, just certain moments, I see, like there's certain moments in the house and there's certain moments where he's turning his head and I'm like, ooh, you know what I mean? And I don't feel that way when I watch Halloween H2O. There's never a moment where I'm like, oh, yeah, never. There's a few little moments in Resurrection. So when I say that it's my fifth favorite, I guess, but I wouldn't even say favorite. I think it's too strong of a word, but fifth in the list, I don't mean the mask in general overall. Like no matter which way you look at it, no matter in what lighting you look at it, it's number 5. No. I mean, no, it's just that I think it has the most, its design allows for the most, dynamic range in terms of being able to have a little bit of the spirit of the original there. Whereas the H2O mask, it doesn't matter which angle you shoot it from. It doesn't look like the original. There are certain moments where it might look okay, but it doesn't look like the original mask. So I think for me, Resurrection kind of has that feel to it. Now, are there moments in Halloween Resurrection where it looks like dog shit? Yeah. The vast majority of the movies, other than the first 2 films, there are moments where the masks look like dog shit. Of course, because it's not the original mask. But there's just a little bit of that flavor there for me. Just a little bit of that flavor. So again, for me, we have, of course, Halloween H2O and Halloween Resurrection. So I don't know. I just, for me, there's just a little bit of that there that I like. So that's why it's my number 5. Now, my number 6 would be Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. But again, I don't think this mask looks anything like the original mask. And for me, I'm always, I know I'm sort of contradicting myself here because obviously I have Halloween 4 at 4, but I gave you the reasons why it is at 4. But in general, for the most part, I always look to see if it gives me that vibe, that Halloween 1 or 2 kind of vibe, right? And Halloween 6 doesn't. It never has. But again, kind of like Halloween 4, it's kind of cool in its own right to some degree, I guess. So that's why it's at number 6. That's why it's ahead of H2O. So I have 6 at 6. 6 at 6. This is the 6 o'clock news at 6. That's where I have it, folks. So again, to recap so far, Halloween 1 at 1. I mean, obviously, that's the immortal classic right there. Number 2, Halloween 2, 1981 is 2, but that's the same mask. It's the same mask. Number 3 is Halloween 2018. Number 4 is Halloween 4. And number 5 is Halloween Resurrection. So, and again, that's sort of, yeah, I don't need to repeat myself here, even though I do a lot. Halloween 6 at number 6. And then number 7 for me is Rob Zombie's Halloween 1. That mask. I think that, again, it has a little bit of that flavor. There's a little bit of the spirit there from the original mask. There's a spirit there. It doesn't look like the original mask, but you look at the mask and you're like, yes, that's Michael Myers. Like I can feel the spirit a little bit there. So that's why it's at my number 7. Number 7. My number 8 is Halloween H2O. Now you're probably wondering,
well, which one in Halloween H2O?
Just Halloween H2O. The one that is the one we see the most, which again is this mask right here. This is what I think of when I think of Halloween H2O. I know, again, there are certain scenes that were not reshot where he has the miner mask on. I call it the miner mask. It's that weird one that looks like this. It's that one. Fucking weird. I think that's the one that Miner wanted to use. It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. So, but I don't think of, like, I don't consider that the H2O mask. I don't consider the CGI mask the H2O mask, or the Halloween 6 mask at the beginning the H2O mask. I consider that the H2O mask. So that's what I'm talking about. And I think it's dog shit. It looks like fucking ass. I've always thought it looked like ass. I'll never forget in 1998 when I saw the trailer for Halloween H2O, and it came to that moment. And all the TV spots. And it came to that moment and she shuts the door and she looks up and there he is and it shows him and he goes like this. I remember being a 19-year-old kid in 1998 and watching that in 1998 going, fuck, that's dog shit. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've never changed on that. It looked like ass then. It looks like dog shit ass now. But, you know. Okay, my number 9. My number 9 is Halloween 5. My number 9 is Halloween 5. You're probably thinking, geez, I'm surprised it's not dead last. Well, you know, I mean, it could be. Halloween 5 makes no fucking sense whatsoever. Halloween 5 is a shell of the Halloween 4 mask, and yet it's supposed to be the same mask. You know, it's supposed to be the Halloween 5 is just a god-awful. That mask, there is never a moment in that movie where I'm like, well, you know, I can kind of see never. Some people have coined it the Nicolas Cage mask. And I'm like, you know, I've never thought of that. But looking at it, I'm like, yeah, I can kind of see why you would think it kind of looks like Nicolas Cage a bit. I can kind of see that there. It's god-awful. It's god-awful. I've never liked it. I've never thought it was cool. Now, again, the Halloween 5 mask has not grown on me in the same ways that the 4 mask has, for the same reasons that I told you that the 4 mask has. And we'll recap here in a second because I realize that more people are beginning to tune in late here. And you could, I mean, somebody out there could make an argument that the 5 mask has grown on them for similar reasons that the 4 mask has grown on me. I could see somebody making that argument. But the problem is that it makes no sense logistically. Like continuity-wise, it makes no sense. Yeah, I mean, the 4 mask, you could say, like I have, well, it's 10 years later, he needed to find a mask, he found that one. The 5 mask is supposed to be the exact same mask. It's not like between 4 and 5, Michael had a chance to go to the hardware store and pick up another one. He was lying on a slab of concrete for a year, which in and of itself is fucking ridiculous. So anyway, 5 is number 9. And number 10 for me is Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. And the reason why Gypsy Warrior here says, really, Dave, I think the H5 mask is creepy. Well, it's creepy, but it's not a fucking Michael Myers mask. And it's why it's so important that you have to understand that I come at this from a very specific way that I'm assessing this. I'm not assessing on just how they look in general. I'm assessing on, does it make sense? Does it look like Michael Myers? Right? And the 5 mask makes no fucking sense that it would look like that because it's supposed to be the exact same mask. It doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't look anything like Michael Myers. So for those, in its own right, which is why I said a few seconds ago, I said somebody could make the argument and say, well, I think it's a creepy mask in its own right. Yep, I can see somebody making that argument. If you were to take the Halloween 5 mask and place it on some evil guy in some other movie that's not Halloween, yes, but it's Halloween. And it makes no sense. So that's why it's my number 5. My number 9. It's just dog shit. Number 10, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Number 10 is Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. And I don't even know what this is. I mean, it's half a mask. You can see his face. He says a couple of lines in the movie. I mean, it's not even, I don't even know what it is. So it has to, really 5 should be dead last. But if we're going to include Rob Zombie's films, then I guess, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, The Mask would be dead last because I don't even know what it is. It's like paper mache on his face or something. I mean, it's just awful. So that's why it's dead last. I mean, at least 5 was a mask that was white and covered his whole head, I guess, is the only reason why it's ahead of Rob Zombie's 2. I mean, there you go. So let's recap, okay, and quickly go through these of why again. So Halloween 1, the original, of course, is number 1. I mean, for obvious reasons. Number 2 is Halloween 2. That is the same mask. So Halloween 1 and 2 will always be number 1 and 2 for me, for obvious reasons. It's the same mask. They're just on 2 different actors. Number 3 for me is Halloween 2018. I think that is the mask that sort of encapsulates Halloween 1 and 2. There are certain times that I look at the 18 mask and I'm like, oh, I can definitely see Halloween 1 there a bit. I could believe that's the one mask. And then there are times I look at it, I'm like, oh, it's got a little bit of a Halloween 2 vibe there. So I like that about it. I think out of all the sequels now, not just the original series, but out of every Halloween movie, I think the 18 mask is the best mask outside of that. Yesterday on Two Dudes and Some Bullshit, when I said that the Resurrection mask was probably the best mask in capturing the one sort of vibe, I meant in the original run, back before Rob Zombie's films, back before it was ever rebooted, that kind of thing. Rebooted. I know that H2O was sort of a reboot, but I mean rebooted. So that, but the H18 mask, that's why it's number 3 is because it's like a hybrid of the first 2. And I think it's a nice balance there, which is great. And the number 4 is Halloween 4, which I know is going to surprise a lot of people, but it is. And like I said, I think it's over the years, it's grown on me and it's a god awful mask. It's terrible. It really is. But I don't know. I think it's better than the 5 mask. I do. I think it's better than the 5 mask. And that's not saying much because it's pretty marginal, but it's grown on me, I really wish, and everybody has said this now, it's like the fashionable thing to say, but it's true. I do, and I understand why they didn't, but I would have been really curious to see if they had just carried the rest of that movie with him in bandages. Just wrapped in bandages. You know what I mean? There was no Michael Myers mask. And then maybe in 5, if they had done 5 right, he somehow gets a mask. And maybe he gets his mask from the creepy hermit who had a mask there. Or maybe the creepy hermit makes him his mask, and because he knows who he is, and he's an old resident of Haddonfield, and he's totally up on it, and he's got this old Michael Myers mask that's lying around somewhere. You may think it sounds fucking stupid, but come on. I mean, let's think of Halloween 5 here. There really isn't anything else you can add into that movie that's not going to make it more stupid. That almost, but at least at that point, he puts on the mask, he kills the hermit, and at least at that point, it's kind of like, I can see, you know what I mean? It'd be kind of interesting. I'd be open to that. But that's why it's my number 4. It's because it's grown on me, essentially. It's grown on me. I know it sounds fucking weird, and it makes no fucking sense to a lot of you to put that ahead of 6, but it's grown on me in ways that the 6 mask never has. Number 5 is Halloween Resurrection. And like I said, because I think it probably even beyond 4 and 5. And I think, you're probably wondering why isn't this your number 4? And I think it's because 4 is a better movie than 8. And I think that's why. I think you just it's hard to get beyond that. The Resurrection mask suffers at the hands of just a terrible movie. And it's so hard to separate it. Even you're supposed to do that, and I'm trying to do that, but it's very difficult to do that. So, but there are moments where I see a little bit of that. Like I said, the spirit of Halloween 1, just the spirit. There it is, right? A little bit of that spirit there. And, that's why it's pretty high on the list if you think about it. There's not too many people that probably have the Resurrection mask in the top 5. I mean, let's be honest here. At number 6 for me, Halloween 6. Number 7, Rob Zombie's Halloween 1. Number 8, Halloween H2O. And the H2O mask, of course, the one everybody thinks of. This one right here, in case you're wondering. That one. And then, Halloween 5. And then Halloween 2. Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. So, folks, what do you think? What do you think? If you're watching after the fact, comment below and let me know your thoughts. How would you rank, the Michael Myers masks? And let me know why. How did you come to that conclusion? I don't just want a ranking. I want you to tell me why you came to that conclusion. What is it? Have your thoughts changed? Do you feel differently? And why do you feel differently? What is your thought process when you are ranking the masks? There are no doubt that there are some people out there that just like the way certain masks look. For me, as you can clearly see, it's a little deeper than that. I think a little deeper than that. It's not just, oh, that looks cool. I think about it against the rest of the movie. I think about, are there more shots in this movie where I like it better than, and that's that's why the Resurrection mask is ahead of H2O and H6, is because when I look at the Resurrection mask, it's a god-awful movie. Like, we have to separate the mask with the film, and sometimes it's hard to do, right? Like I've just said. But there are more moments in Resurrection, and there are not many of them, but there are more moments where I'm like, oh, I like the way the mask looks there, than I ever feel that way in H2O or H6, and it's kind of funny. It's ironic because, yes, from a certain point of view, H2O and H6 are probably better movies. Certainly H6 is better movies overall than Halloween Resurrection. So it's kind of ironic in some ways, but I've never been a huge fan of the H6 mask. I just never have. And I think something that we also have to keep in mind too, is that there is no doubt that, when you come off of the Halloween, there's no doubt that there's a, it's relative, and a lot of, I think we need to take these things into consideration, that the reason why people might really like the Halloween 6 mask is because of, the H2O mask wasn't better, and which is the movie after that, and the Halloween 5 mask was awful. So you have a mask that it's like relative, like, it's like, it's going to sound so bad, but it's like, I don't know if I should use that example. People. No, I'm not going to use that example. But it's relative, and it's not that the H6 mask is fantastic. It's just that in comparison to what came before and like immediately after, it's like God. You know what I mean? Like, it's that kind of thing. And I'm not saying in its own right it's not cool, but I go like really deep into this stuff, and I always really think about this. I don't just look at the mask and think how it, I kind of think, how do I feel when I watch the movie? Does it make sense, from continuity? Does it, and I think that's one of the big things too, why 4 is also ahead of Resurrection, is because where did Michael Myers, even though I like the Resurrection mask, I've put it where I've put it, let's say. I look at the H4 mask, and even though 4 is ahead of Resurrection by 1 spot in my list here, I think it's because, number 1, the 4 mask has grown on me. Number 2, it makes sense continuity, right? Even though it's not, like, clearly the Resurrection mask, there are more moments that the Resurrection mask has the spirit of the original mask than the 4 mask could ever dream of having, right? I mean, we can probably agree on that, right? You look at the Halloween 4 mask, and then you look at the Resurrection mask here. Like, clearly the Resurrection mask has more of the flavor or the spirit of the original than the Halloween 4 mask could ever dream of. So why is 4 ahead of 8 on my list? And I think it really comes down to, because of how sweaty I get, with these types of things, right? I get really deep into it. It makes sense to me. The 4 mask has grown on me, and he didn't have a mask. He needed a mask. He walked into a store and he got a mask, and that's what he got. And it's creepy in its own right. That's why it sits there. It makes sense to me. I can intellectualize that. So it makes me feel better about what I'm looking at. Better, right? Think of it, Okay. Where did he get the resurrection mask? Like, where did this mask come from? Where he put his mask on the of course, you could say, where did he get the H2O mask, right? There's a lot of problems with the just, but I don't know. It's just kind of like, did he walk into a store and pick this up? He's got this mask now. He's got, I don't know. And that kind of stuff matters to me. And that's why it's not ahead of 4 in some ways. It's very interesting. Like when I'm walking even through this now and I'm talking out loud and I'm thinking out loud and I'm talking to you guys about it, it really sort of makes me, again, you can see my thought process. And it's why, I do these kinds of shows from time to time, because I want you guys to, and it's very off the cuff and it's not like I've prepared a script. I never do. Because I want you guys to see me walking through that process, because sometimes I walk through it live with you guys. And that's kind of how I'm feeling. The 4 mask has grown on me, but don't mistake that for, I think the 4 mask is amazing. It's just grown on me for the variety of reasons that I've said here. But the top 3 are 1, 2, and 18, really, at the end of the day. And the bottom 3 are H2O, H5, and Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. And then the middle are your 4, Resurrection, and 6, and Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween. I think that's your middle there, in terms of the masks. I do. It's too bad the Halloween 4 mask was not, it's too bad they didn't have the original mask, but it's also too bad they didn't that they showed that mask because there are certain scenes in that movie where the mask is genuinely creepy. It's not Michael Myers, but you can go, okay, well, this is what he looks like now because he's got to get that mask right. Okay. And it's genuinely creepy. And then there are certain moments in that movie where it's like, oh my God, like, why is this lit up like a Christmas tree? It looks awful. And I don't know. It's interesting. Anyways, folks, I'd love to know what you guys think if you're watching after the fact. Again, comment below and let me know your thoughts, how you would rank your Michael Myers masks, and most importantly, not just the ranking, but why. Why you've come to the conclusions you've come to. And what you guys, I want to challenge you guys to really think outside the box here and think, why do I feel this way? Why am I placing this over this? Why am I doing that? Do you have a couple of surprises on your list? I have no doubt that there will be some surprises to people, or that my list, there'll be a couple of surprises there. But I'd love to know sort of your thought process behind it and the reasons you've come to the conclusions you have. So comment below and let me know. Let's go over to the chat room and see what you guys are saying. I just want to see I didn't miss any super chats. I don't think I did. No. Okay, good. Let's go over and see what you guys are saying, because I would love to know. Let me see here. The Bump in the Night Studio says someone should make an H4 cut with all the original mask. I would love to see that. Oh, kind of like a what do they call it? A deep fake kind of thing. That would be interesting. Ed Red 77 says, Dave, would there be a cool, nuanced way to mesh together the Michael Myers storyline with H3? I know it'd be a bit unnecessary, but most of the series is unnecessary at this point, so why not? Well, the first thing that comes to mind, buddy, is one that's kind of been out in the ether for quite some time. And there's no truth behind it. It's fan fiction, but it's fan fiction that makes sense from a certain point of view, and that is that Michael Myers was somehow corrupted by the same sort of evil that corrupts in Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, and that the Michael Myers mask, or the clown mask, was a silver shamrock mask. You know what I mean? And so from a certain point of view, you might be able to sort of tie that in. I think that's probably the most logical input. I would never do it because it ruins the mystique of Myers. But if you were going to do it, that is a popular fan theory that has been out there for a long time. It's fun to speculate, and certainly that is something that you could do. Tie in the Silver Shamrock Novelties as a company that actually made the Michael Myers mask, or made the clown mask. or made the clown costume. Maybe it wasn't just masks that they made. Maybe at one point they made costumes. And that clown costume that Michael Myers was wearing that night was a silver shamrock costume. You know what I mean? And then, of course, we see the little clown mask at the top of the stairs, and he reaches down and he picks it up. But we don't, we never see inside the little mask there. And maybe if you were to look closely inside the little mask there, it's not an overhead mask, mind you, it's just over the face. But who's to, you can figure that out, right? Maybe in the mask, there's a little tag there, that says Silver Shamrock, and that's how you bring it in. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my God. So that's what, holy shit. So, it's kind of like, whenever anybody puts anything on that is made from these, this company, whether it's a costume or a mask or, whatever, right? Something goes down. And it's a popular theory, but, and I'm sure there are other ways you could tie it in. But that's the first thing that comes to my mind because that's the popular fan theory that's been out there for a while. But I would never want to do it because... again, I'm such a stickler for preserving the mystique of Myers, and not revealing what evil is. That's what makes it work in a lot of ways, because you can't quantify evil, right? You can't quantify love. We can't measure it. It's just a feeling we have, but we can't objectively measure love. We can measure, brain activity and neuro responses and things like that to feelings and stuff, but it's not something that can be objectively measured. It's not tangible, and evil sort of the same way. There are evil acts, but whatever evil is, whatever evil is should remain unknowable, unmeasurable. Especially when it comes to Myers. So, because that's part of the mystique of the character. You open that up and you reveal how the magic trick works, and then Michael just kind of becomes like everybody else, So I wouldn't really want to go that route, but that's a popular fan theory anyway. That is a possibility. Stacy Rockefeller sends in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Stacy. Says, maybe an unpopular opinion, but I think the 2018 mask is kind of lame. Why did his mask get wrinkly like an old man? Latex doesn't do that. Oh, latex does do that, my friend. Latex absolutely does that. If you've ever had a latex mask, okay, I mean, we have to sort of walk the line here, right? If you want to get technical, if you want to be like full on real world, the mask that Aaron would have been holding up at the beginning of Halloween H18, going, say something, right? That mask there that he pulls out of his fucking bag would have looked like the thumbnail on my photo. Like, really, at the end of the day, the mask would have looked like, let's get this, where is that? The mask would have looked like this. This is a picture of the original mask. This is actually the original mask from the original film, preserved. This is what it looks like now, for those of you that don't know. I forget the gentleman's name who has this mask, but Dick Warlock used to have this mask, and now this guy has it, and he says that he has preserved it in an airtight vault of some kind because latex does rot. It does rot. And I've had latex masks that have wrinkled and crinkled and rot and have rot. I was going to say rotted, have rot. And this mask probably looks as good as it does because it's been preserved to a degree. Now, obviously, it's worn away. If you were to pick it up with your hand and toss it around your friends and family to have a look at it, it would probably fall apart. But it's cool to see, nonetheless, one of the most iconic masks in the history of horror, the history of movies, preserved to a degree, to a point. That is the original mask right there. That is, to a degree, what it would look like if it was just not preserved. And we are left with the impression that this mask was never preserved, like an H18, right? It's not like they needed, it was just kind of probably tossed around, thrown in an evidence locker, and like it wasn't, preserved in an airtight container. So the reason why the mask looks the way it does in H18 is because it's supposed to be the movie version of that, right? It's Hollywood, right? So it's like, oh, here it is all old and kind of crinkly and yellow, and I get it. Like I believe it. I believe it. But to say that latex doesn't get wrinkly, I mean, I think I know what you're saying to a degree. I know what you're saying. But it definitely does crinkle, and it definitely can get all fucked up and look like an old man from a certain point of view. But they took creative liberties, and they sort of made a fine, it's, you got to suspend your disbelief a little bit, right? Oh, so it looks like this now. You know what I mean? It's all old and crinkly with lines and shit, and it's got yellow on, and it's like, okay, yeah, I believe it. I believe it. I think we are still, as far as I know, we're still good. Yes, we're still good. Fuck. I don't know what's going on. That was one. Yeah. Okay. No, we're still good. We're still on. We're still on. My apologies there, folks. There was a bit of a hiccup. See if we can get through this. So yeah, you kind of have to suspend your disbelief a bit when it comes to the H18 mask. But certainly latex does rot and does get crinkly, because I've had a lot of latex masks over the years, non-Michael Myers masks, just latex masks, that I'll open the cupboard one day and be like, oh no, and it kind of looks like that, you know what I mean? It's like, oh no. It definitely does do that. Let me see here. Gypsy Warrior says, Dave, how do you feel the Halloween Kills mask will compare? Well, I think it will largely be the same mask. You'll just have the bullet hole on the side of the mask, and I think part of the mask will be singed. And I think, but that's something that I've been saying for over a year, because just thinking about logically and continuity, that's what it should be. I've said, and I've been very consistent on this channel, I've said that the mask will not be torched. They don't want to do that because they don't want to break, or they don't want to fix what isn't broken. So they largely still want to have the mask look like the way it did in H18, but he's been in a fire, so they're going to have some residual effects, I think is what I have always been saying. There's going to be some residual effects, and I've been saying that since last summer, of the mask and what that looks like. So the hair will be a bit singed, you'll have a bit of smoke damage, maybe a little bit of burn marks and things like that. That's what it's going to look like. At least that's what I think it should look like. But not like to the point where it's almost unrecognizable, right? Because you don't want to, you still want to kind of, because for the most part, the H18 mask was very well received. And I'm sure the sales have got, well, I know they have. You can just see by everybody who's buying it. The sales for that mask have gone through the roof. And independent mask makers are buying them from Trick or Treat studios and making their own and molds. It's wild. So you don't want to fix what isn't broken. But yeah, it'll look something like that. Mason James sends in a $5 super chat. Thanks, buddy. Says, I like H2 mask because it looks like he has a purpose to kill. Looks seriously pissed. Now, are you talking about Rob Zombie's H2 or H281? I'm assuming you're talking about the original H281 is what I'm assuming you are talking about. Let's go to Chris Baber here. Says, I'm pretty sure they goofed and used the H6 mask at the opening of H2O. They did use the H6 mask at the beginning of H2O, but I believe it was intentional, if I'm not mistaken. If it was a goof, I just don't get it. I just don't understand how you can goof with that. I don't believe it was a goof, because I think they were originally going to go with that mask. I think they probably just should have. It actually looked better. I actually think the H6 mask looks better at the beginning of H2O than it did in H6. Funny enough. I don't know why, but it just did to me. It did. Michael Myers. Oh, Michael Myers in the chat. Dave, have you seen the 2001 film Session 9? Yes, loved it. Love that movie. When I worked at a video store in the early 2000s, I used to recommend that movie a lot, actually. Used to recommend that film. Let me see here. Lauren Downing says, I'm sure this has been mentioned before, but what happened to the mold for the original mask? The one from the company that made the Shatner mask. Well, that's Don Post that made that. I don't think, like, the mold for the mask is, Sean Clark's got a great video on his channel where he talks about this. Because we have to remember that the mold was not made specifically for the movie. The mold was a mold that was made to dish out Shatner masks in the mid to late 70s. It was like an assembly line. Bum, 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 bum. It was Tommy Lee Wallace just bought a Shatner mask, and nobody knew about it. Nobody knew about it when they were making it. Don Post didn't know that they were going. I mean, it was a Shatner mask. So that specific mold, there were other Shatner masks out there. And I stand to be corrected, but I believe Sean Clark has a video on his channel recently where he was able to track somebody down who had an original 1975, 6, 7, whatever the mold was, of a Dawn Post Captain Kirk mask, which would have been the same mold that would have been the same mold with the same markings and shit that Tommy Lee Wallace picked up in that store on Hollywood Boulevard in 1978. And he was able to track this guy down, and he purchased it from this guy for what money I don't know what he spent, probably quite a bit, and for Sean's collection. And it doesn't look like a Michael Myers mask; it's a Captain Kirk mask. But it's not a Captain Kirk mask that you see sort of being made now. It's an original Dawn Post 70s Captain Kirk mask that you look at the markings and stuff, you're like, oh my God, this is the same mold. Now, whatever happened to that mold, it's long gone. I would imagine it's been gone for decades. But yes, it was a Dawn Post mask. It was a Dawn Post mask, and it really cool, like really, really cool that he was able to track this guy down. And the guy actually showed pictures of him in the like as a kid in 1976 or whatever it was, in the mask, having the mask, and he's had it for that long, and it looks to be in pretty good shape. Like, it looks really good, And so hopefully Sean, if you're watching, hopefully Sean will be. I'm sure he will. Sean's very good with this kind of thing. He will be preserving that Halloween mask to its core, no doubt. But very cool indeed. So yeah, very cool. Gypsy Warrior says, Dave, do you think we will ever get Halloween? Of course. Yeah, of course we'll get Halloween ends. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. Frank Riker sends in a super chat and says, Dave, but has the mask transcended the character of Michael Myers? Would we still like the series if masks like a clown was used throughout the series? Well, it's interesting, Frank. I think it's hard to say. It's hard to say because you do have It as well, which is clown oriented. It depends on what clown mask would have been used. Probably not. The Michael Myers mask, the Dawn Post Captain Kirk spray painted white mask. I mean, it definitely, yes, it's definitely transcended the character. It's transcended the genre. The original is the best. It looks the best. The original mask looks the best for its original intent, and it looks the best in low lighting when you're trying to convey that sense of blank, pale. I don't get the same feeling when I look at the 4 mask or the 5 mask or the 6, 7, 8, Rob Zombie. I don't get the same feeling. Even the 18 mask, I get it a little bit, but it's just, and that is, and it's funny too, and it's ironic because even Tommy Lee Wallace said this, and he's absolutely right. It's funny that independent mask makers are now making these masks, the original mask, but they're doing all the shading. So all of the shadow that you see that is naturally, that is created through the use of light and shadow and lighting in the original film, is now actually being created on the masks that are being sold. But the original Halloween mask, the original Michael Myers mask, was just spray painted fish belly white. It was just, it was, if we were on set and we were just hanging out in the daytime in somebody's office and we were to look at the Michael Myers mask that Nick Castle wore, there would be no shadow on it. There would be no dark spots on it. It would just be like, whoa, it would be like just this white face. It would be almost too white. But the reason why it looks the way it does, and there's all these shadows on it, is because of the way that Cundy lit it. And I just kind of find it funny now, and I get why, of course, but I find it kind of funny now that the masks that we buy from these independent guys are now created to look like it's in a perpetual state of light and shadow, right? Like in all this shading and stuff, they have like, the darkness under the eyes and the shading, by the nose and on the lips and, things like that. And on the, but it was never done that. It was just, mask, there you go. Okay, wear it. You know what I mean? But when you light it in certain light, it really pops. It really, really pops. That's why you can look at pictures of the Michael Myers mask with Nick Castle, the one that he's holding up like this and he's going like this, or, you know, whatever. And it looks like, oh, just kind of looks unassuming. It looks kind of just not as cool. It's because that's what it actually looked like. That's what it actually looked like. But when you get it into darkness and you play around with, you know, the barn doors on some key lights and things like that, and you kind of light here and then you adjust this over here and you play, can look pretty fucking cool. You know what I mean? So that's always something that's kind of been interesting to me. That now we make masks to look like that, which is understandable because obviously you want it to naturally look at its best, you know, but it was Dean Cundy and company that lit the mask to look like that. It was never created with any light or any shading or shadow on the mask. So it's kind of interesting there, kind of a bit of a anecdote, kind of, I don't know. I find those things fascinating and interesting. Cool. Let me see. I don't think I missed any super. Oh, Frank Riker sent a super chat. Frank the Tank going hard into the paint. Frank, my man, says, Dave, but has the mask... Oh, no, I did read that. That's what I was just answering, I guess. That's what I was just answering. Right. And I didn't even fucking finish it. Frank, thank you so much for bringing me back, even though you didn't. It was... Anyway. So, yes, I think to a point... Because I went off on an anecdotal side note there. I got to come back to answer your question, as I always do. I always do that. But you know what? I always bring it home. I will say that... Yes, and I think it's because of the way the mask looks, you know, and there's a mysteriousness about it, right? But it's that original mask, really, at the end of the day. I think, me personally, all the sequels beyond Halloween 2, the masks are largely forgettable, really, at the end of the day. They don't carry the same punch and the same impact as that original mask. They just don't. They just don't. And I think if you could have a Michael Myers movie, if they ever made a sequel, like, can you imagine if Halloween 4 was made today and they used the mask that you see some of these independent guys make? Can you imagine? Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, it's night and day. It's just night and day, you know? So would the series have been as successful or cool if it was just a clown mask? It's hard to say. Hard to say. If it was a clown mask and everything remained the same, it's hard to say, because there is that thing where if there was no Shatner mask and it didn't exist, then we wouldn't be aware of that, right? It's like saying, would you miss social media in 1998? Well, no, because I didn't know there was such a thing as social media. Like out of sight, out of mind. I mean, I didn't know, right? I had no idea there was social media. It didn't exist in 1998. You know, when I was in high school, I didn't have an email address. I wasn't emailing people in high school. You know, I didn't get my first email address till I was in college. So, I mean, I didn't miss it. It's kind of the same thing where it's like, if there was no such thing as a Michael Myers Shatner mask and it never came to be, and it was the clown mask, we wouldn't be any the wiser. So we might think it was still really fucking cool. Kind of interesting. I don't know. So I like that Frank goes there, though. It's good stuff. Frank Riker also says, super chat. So if Jason went back to Sackhead, will the audience be disappointed? I think there is a portion of the audience that will be disappointed, and I think there is a portion of the audience that would be very excited. I think more people will be disappointed than excited, but I personally would love to see that. I think Sackhead Jason is underutilized. The only thing with Sackhead Jason is that we have seen in horror movies before, and since, like, wearing a bag over your head or a sack over your head with one eye or two eyes. I know he has one eye, but we've seen that kind of thing before in horror movie or since. You know, there's been a lot of low budget independents, like even more low budget than, you know, Friday the 13th. We've seen it in you know, The Strangers to a degree is kind of sackhead a little bit. We've seen it. nobody wears a hockey mask but Jason. And there's reasons for that. There's legal reasons for that too, right? So it's very part of the brand identity. But Sackhead Jason is underutilized. He's underutilized in fan films. He's underutilized in the series and in artwork. You don't usually see Jason depicted as Steve Dash in Friday the 13th Part 2. So I do think there is room there for that exploration. I think it would be cool to see that. But I think some fans would really like it, and I think some fans would not. Michael Meyer says, Dave, what are your thoughts on the Purge franchise? I've only seen the first Purge. I haven't seen any of the others. I just didn't really care to, I guess. Town that dreaded sundown. Oh, right. Yeah. See, yeah, exactly. Exactly my point. Like it's been done before, but yeah. Freshy Thrashy says, Dave, have you seen the Phantasm movies? Maybe you and Tony could do a Two Dudes episode on the original movie. I saw the first one a long time ago, but I haven't seen any of the others. And I would have to brush up on my Phantasm. I'd have to do that because, yeah, I haven't seen any of the others. I would have to do that. Just scrolling back, making sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah. Gary Rangel says, Dave, if a movie title has a subtitle Resurrection at the bottom, is it doomed to fail? No, because it comes down to, plot, story, execution. But there is, I don't know, Hollywood loves there are subtitles: resurrection, resurgence, redemption, returns, revenge. I mean, they really love their R subtitles, and I just think it's overdone. It's overused in my opinion. But that's me. Aaron Zukowski says, if Nick Castle had played the Shape in more movies, would it have improved some of the movies? Nah, probably not. I mean, it would have improved the Myers aspect, but again, he would, if the stories are the same and he's being directed to do similar. I mean, listen, if you put not even Nick Castle, if you put a Halloween 1 mask on George P. Wilbur in Halloween 4, that movie becomes, I don't know how to do it. Somebody needs to deep fake a fucking Michael Myers mask from Halloween 1. Or Halloween 2, whatever. Deep fake that shit on George P. Deep fake that shit on the rest of the series, but definitely do it on Halloween 4, because Halloween 4 is sort of, there's a general consensus that it's before Halloween 18, of course, it's the best sequel. It's the best sequel, and it is. For me, and that's not saying a lot because I don't think it's a great movie, but I think outside, because people, you have Halloween 1, Halloween 2. Outside of that, when you branch off into the series and into the rest of the I think 4 is the best one. I do. And like I said on McRae Live last week, I think it's a great ending to the series, personally. Frank Riker says, Dave, the best looking Leatherface mask. I really like the remake. Jessica Biel. There. The not the one he wears when he not the one he wears of her boyfriend, but the one he wears, the other one he wears. The one that's on the poster. I think that's a creepy fucking mask. And I loved his size, his presence. He was terrifying. He was genuinely terrifying. So I would say probably the 2000, is it 3 or 4? 3, I think. Leatherface mask, I think, is genuinely terrifying. Yeah, the original, it's fine too, That's what I would probably say. Something like that. I would say that. Josh McGrath says, Dave, I know you like the Ring remake. The US version, yes. But I would highly recommend the original 2 Ringu movies from Japan. I've seen them. I have seen. It's Ring... Yeah, how do you say it in Japanese? I used to think it was Ringu, but it's something else. There is no blood, no gore, only shadows and atmosphere and just terrifying imagery. I've seen it. I have it. I own the original. I own the original on VHS. And is it DVD? I think I have it. Oh yeah, it's great. Great stuff, man. Great stuff. Oh, I've seen them. I've seen them. Bump in the Night Studio says, pretty woman from the original best leather face mask to me. There you go. Pretty woman walking down the street, pretty woman. Roy Orbison. Love Roy Orbison. Chris Baber sends in a super chat. Says, I've always wondered what happened to the other two masks from the 1978 Halloween, stunt masks A and B. You know, it's hard to say. And I know that there are probably sweaty fans. I always take every story with a grain of salt. I know somebody will say something and somebody else will say something and then it'll become lore and, you know, and then, you know, there'll be a general consensus. But there's not even, like, there are very few people that can agree that even the mask in Halloween 2 is the exact same one that Nick Castle wore in Halloween 1. Now, it is one of the masks from Halloween 1. Definitely. It's definitely one of the masks from Halloween 1. It's definitely from, but whether it is the same mask that Nick was wearing when he sits up and does this, and all these people doing these, I see it all the time. You know, Monday morning quarterback web sleuths that have no photography analysis experience whatsoever, jump on social media, they jump into their Photoshop and they draw red circles around little marks on masks and things like that. But that's, I mean, it means that yes, it can mean that it's the same run of masks. It can mean that it's the same mask. But you know, there's so many, like nobody knows what happened. I would imagine that they were probably there are people that say that the mask that was under Deborah Hill's bed was the hero mask. There are people that say, no, it wasn't the hero mask. There are people that say that the mask that is being preserved right now is the hero mask. There are people saying, no, it's not the hero mask. You know, there are even people attached to the production that can't agree on it. You know, I mean, it was over 40 years ago. So, you know, and again, I think the one thing that we have to understand too is the reason why there's so many conflicting stories is largely because in 1978, nobody gave a fuck, right? In hindsight, you know, we can look back and say, oh my God, but at that time, nobody cared. Nobody was thinking the way we do now. It was just a little movie that did very well and nobody cared. And you took the mask, you tossed it under your bed. I mean, I've had people reach out to me and say, why would Deborah Hill do that? It was so irresponsible. She just put it in a shoebox and put it under her bed and was, you know, smoking. Why would you do? It's because nobody cared. Nobody and when I say that, like, you have to understand that it wasn't a big thing then. It wasn't a series then. It wasn't anything big. It wasn't, I mean, it was big in the sense that it became the high, you know, but it wasn't what it is now, you know? And, I mean, nobody even asked Nick Castle to come back and play Michael Myers. And there are a lot of people that find that strange. Why wouldn't they ask him? Because nobody cared, because they didn't see him as vital to the role. It's just a guy in a mask walking around. That is how people saw that thing back in the day. It's just a guy walking around in a mask, you know? And so they got Dick Warlock has even said that nobody told me how to walk. The reason why Dick Warlock walks like a zombie in Halloween 2 is because he was left to just do that. And nobody told him not to do that because nobody cared. Nobody realized that in 30 years, there would be people analyzing this fucking guy's walk. He's just a guy in a mask. He's just our antagonist. Put the mask on, walk around, do your thing. How should I walk? I don't give a fuck. Just walk. Do I walk like this? It's kind of not what he did. I don't care what he did. Yeah, you walk. Okay, fine. Go walk like that. They didn't care. Is it irresponsible? Yeah, I guess to some degree we look back on it, we think that maybe there should have been a little more direction, but they just didn't realize how big this thing was going to become. And I think largely the reason why you hear so many conflicting stories about the mask is for the same reason. And I think the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Whether the mask, you know, that is in Halloween 2 is the hero mask. And there are people that will say, no, it's the hero mask. It's been confirmed. It's the hero mask. But I've talked to a couple people at conventions that go, we don't know. It's likely. It's likely, yes, because of this, and this. But then there's this, and this. And I remember talking to Deborah and saying this. We don't know. You know what I mean? Like, so who knows? Who knows? But the one thing we do know is that it's one of the three masks. And definitely the mask that Nick Castle was, or that Dick Warlock was wearing, was definitely one of the masks. And like I said, there are people that will say, no, it's been confirmed. That's the hero mask. That was the mask. It was under Deborah Hill's mask and things like that. But I've talked to people close to the Halloween franchise that say, yeah, but yes, and we're not, but Deborah, we don't know. Like, it's not, and there's no way of really knowing, but we can narrow it down and draw your red circles on fucking photographs and things like that. But I mean, there are people, and this is how insane it gets. I've seen this on the Facebook pages. There are people that are saying that Christopher Nelson is lying about, and I it's something like he has the, what was it? Now, this is the guy that made the 18 mask with his team. And he has the screen use masks sitting behind him when he does his podcast with Sean Clark. But there are fans out there that don't believe it's it. And they'll draw their red circles on it and they'll do this and no, because if you look at this and you do this, and it's like, dude, this is the guy that made the fucking mask. He's telling you that mask sitting right there behind me is the Scream mask. No, that's not it. I mean, this is what I mean. Like, it's this, and then it's kind of like, okay, all right, it's not. It's not because you drew a circle around a mark that you didn't see somewhere else. And okay, all right, fine. Yeah. But why would he lie? He made the fucking mask. I mean, him and his team, obviously. And I always point that out because it is a team effort, of course. And he always likes to say that too, which is totally true. It is a team effort. But it's like, what? I mean, you get these people that don't know their asses from their elbows and they think they're making, conclusions and, like it's so hard to do that through pictures and unless you have like real high resolution images of something because pixels can get blurred and you're largely zooming up on photos, especially when it's photos of the original mask. You're largely, you're like 10 timesing the mask, or 20 timesing the mask on an image that is like what? Like 140p or something. Like, I mean, it's because it's so old and it's black and white, or it's a screen capture from the fucking movie. And, anyway, I never get sort of, another thing I want to do is I want to talk about the Coveralls as well. Not in this show, but there is going to be a show where I'm going to talk about the Coveralls because I'm telling you right now, the Coveralls were not this limey olive green. They weren't. I see some guys who get it right. Okay, who get it right, and then I see some who have like almost like it's like a not lime green, but like it's very green, like full on green, and it's like that they weren't like that. Yes, they were. No, they weren't. No, but if you look, and it's because and it's largely. I talked to Dean Cundy, and I'm telling you that. Part of the reason why you see some green in some of the images is if you knew how light worked, then you would. Anyway, I'm going to save it for the show. I don't want to get too deep into that here, but I am planning on doing a show sort of trying to put to bed what color the coveralls are. And there are some people say, no, it's that olive green, or that, and I'm like, there are some people that have greenish coveralls. And I'm like, yeah, you're in the ballpark. Yes. Okay. Yes. And then there are some that have like I said, like, I don't have anything green here. It's like I can't think of anything, but it's like this greenish. And I'm like, it's not green. Now, it wasn't full-on royal blue either. But I'm going to do a video on that and hopefully try and put it to bed. I just got to finish up my research on that. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent like I always do, but that's why you tune in. May not be why you tune in, but Frank Reiger says, for the sexy MFers in the chat, thank you so much, Frank. Really, really appreciate that. But yeah, Chris, I mean, really, people say it's the hero mask. I think there's a high probability that it's the hero mask. But I've spoken to others who are very well connected to the Halloween franchise who are like, yeah, we don't really know at the end of the day. Because when Halloween ended, it's not like people, like when the series ended, when 1978 ended, nobody was like taking the masks and going, oh, be very careful with this. Now this is the hero. This is A. This is B. Now nobody's doing that. They're just like, hey, who wants it? You want it? Here you go. Take that. Take it. Nobody cares because they didn't think they were ever going to make another one either. So, yeah, who knows? Who knows, man? Who knows? I mean, now it's like... But yeah, anybody out there who thinks that Christopher Nelson does not have the screen-used Michael Myers mask, get off whatever crack you're on. He's got it. And James Jude Courtney has one as well. And Nick Castle, the one that Nick Castle has is his screen-used mask as well. There were a bunch made, obviously. Let me see here. Ryan sends in a $2 super chat, says, favorite Halloween movie poster. H3 is so good. The Halloween 3 movie poster is fantastic. It's a great poster. Favorite Halloween movie poster. I got to go classic. I got to go 1 or 2. Probably 1, followed by 2. I think those are classic. Those are just classic stuff. And I learned from getting to know the Yablans family pretty well over the last couple of years. I learned that the Halloween poster, the original, was Irwin's idea. He wanted something simple with a pumpkin on it and like a knife and a fist or whatever. And he did this to the guy that, and that's what came to be. So that's pretty cool, to say the least. So, but I got to go classic because you don't see posters like that nowadays. I love the mask on the H4 poster. I think the H4 poster is probably next. I'd probably go 1, 2, 4. 5's garbage. 5 just garbage. 6 is a cool poster, but I just hate that movie. H2O. I hate H2O and Resurrection because there was that time Scream did it as well, but Scream's a better movie, so you kind of accept it. Although the Scream poster I like, the original Scream poster, if it was the original, with just this, just says Scream, it doesn't have any of the fucking faces of the cast on it. That's a great fucking poster. I love that poster. That's a good poster. I did not like, now I will say the I Know What You Did Last Summer poster, I actually like. Even though they have the cast on it, they're all going like this and looking this way and looking that way. You know how it is. It was like a mid to late 90s thing. That's just how they did these teen bop horror films. But I think it's the color grading that I really like on the I Know What You Did Last Summer poster. That cool icy blue, I really like that. It's mysterious. It's eerie looking. The H2O poster is fucking garbage. It's garbage. It's so cut and paste. It's so I don't feel anything at all. And the Resurrection poster is the same thing. But that's what they were doing with those kinds of movies back then. That's what they were doing. But my favorite, I got to go classic. I mean, the original, man. The original. It's classic. It's so classic. And it's a painting. It's when they used to do those things, kids. Amazing. Well, it might not be. It might be a painting might be a combination of a couple of things, but it's certainly not a photograph. Stacy Rockefeller sends in a super chat. Thank you very much. Says, I like to think Michael made the H1 mask himself, stole it from the hardware store, painted it, cut the eye holes, hence the DIY look. Yeah, you could think that. The only reason why I don't, though, is because it's not supposed to be a Captain Kirk mask in the movie. It's just a Halloween mask. So it's likely that, like, if it was supposed to be a Captain Kirk mask in the movie and, Sheriff Brackett was like, all they took was some Captain Kirk mask, a couple of knives and some rope. Well, then you're like, okay, well, that clearly there's some DIY here, right? But it was just a mask, it was just a white face mask on a shelf, or on a hook, on a rack, right? So I think that's largely why I don't think that. And most people probably don't, is because it by all accounts, that's what it looked like when he picked it up. It was just supposed to be some spooky white face mask. So, but if you want to think that, that's cool. That's cool. I'm down with that. I'm okay with that. I'm down with it. I'm down. I'm hip to your scene. I'm hip to your scene. Shut up, Dave. Let me see here. Robert Thidoff, my man, says, Dave, if you flip the H1 mask to all Friday the 13th films and all hockey masks to all the Halloween films, ooh, I like this question. I like when you guys do this. Would it make the films better or worse? I don't think it would. No, I think it would largely be the same. Because if you flip the masks, but you utilize the same techniques that you are utilizing, then I think if Michael Myers was wearing the Jason hockey mask in Halloween 1, I think the film would still be just as creepy and weird because you are still utilizing, it's still the same movie, you're just swapping the masks. So you're still seeing the mask in dimly lit light and darkness, right? You're still, during the daytime, you're seeing it from a distance, right? So not close up. You know, you put the Michael Myers mask in the Friday the 13th films, you're still seeing it, you know, as much as you are. You're seeing it in more lighting. You know, it's usually at night, but you're seeing it more clearly, more often, right? So I think that it would, I don't know if it would change, really. I think if the movies are still largely the same with the same cast, the same cheesiness in Friday the 13th, the same cheesy effects, the same blood and gore, and you're seeing his mask as often as you are, I think the effect would be probably the same. Because the Michael Myers mask is iconic in that first movie especially. Not just because the mask is creepy. It's how they utilized the mask. You know what I mean? It's utilizing it to its full potential. You know, you have a creepy mask. Oh my God, we put that in dimly lit light with maybe one key light coming in on the side and have to come in the blue, you know, and it's massaging that and nurturing that. And I mean, you take the original mask from the original movie, put it in broad daylight, close up, you know, I mean, look at those images with Nick Castle holding it during the daytime. It's largely unassuming and it's not really that effective, right? I mean, we can all kind of agree. It's kind of like, you know, but it's taking the potential of that and utilizing it to its full potential. So I think that if you were just to take the hockey mask and do that, yeah, you know, I don't think much would change. I don't know. That's a very good question, Robert. But my instinct is that not much would change if the movies and the creative choices also don't change. I don't think much would change. I think Halloween with a hockey mask would be pretty darn fucking awesome and scary. And I think Friday the 13th part, 4 with a Michael Myers mask would largely be the same. You know what I mean? Just a Michael Myers mask. I don't know. That's a very good question. I've never had anybody ask me or anybody else that question. So I think that's actually a pretty good question. Mason James says, Dave, favorite Michael kill out of everything? Like all of the kills? Oh, I gotta go. I'm going back to, probably Bob is a great kill. And then in Halloween 2, what my favorite is in Halloween 2. If you don't, it's Janet when she's killed with the syringe. And I think it's my favorite, or the needle, I should say. I think it's my favorite kill in Halloween 2 because it's the most, not the kill itself, but the lead up to the kill. Very often, the lead up to the kill is often more important than the kill itself. And for me, the lead up to Janet's kill in Halloween 2 is it's the most Halloween 1 we have in Halloween 2. Like I've said 1,000 times, his face coming out of the darkness. Like it's the most Halloween 1 in Halloween 2. And I think that's why it's my favorite kill in Halloween 2. And then Halloween 1, it's got to be Bob or Linda. Although I do like Annie. I love the creative choice to have the windows fogged because of the breathing, and then we're looking through the side and we can and I love the creative choice to mask Michael in the fogged up window. Because if the fogged up window was not there, we would have seen him more clearly. And we're not seeing him clearly because the windows are fogged up. That's just so genius. That's so ingenious. That's really cool. It's the excuse. You know what I mean? So, but Bob's a classic because he got the head tilt in there and, So I'd probably say that. We'll go another 5 more minutes here. Another 5 more minutes. Chris Carter sends in a super chat, says, Dave, I learned today that you'd VO'd promos for 3 shows I directed, produced. Really? Mazel tov. That's really cool. Good luck with Billy. Hopefully he won't be masked in your film. No, he's not masked. You can say that because he's not masked in the original. Chris, what shows were they, Chris? That's really cool. What shows were they? That's awesome. That's fun. That is fun. Chris, my man, going hard into the paint. Getting some VO love going on here. Amazing. Hopefully Chris hasn't left and he can tell me what shows they were. I've done a bunch of stuff, so I'm trying to think of what they were. Are you in Toronto, Chris, or are you in... Big Brother Canada, Thrift Hunters, and My Worst Nightmare. Okay, yeah. I did a bunch of promos for Big Brother Canada. So have we worked together, Chris? Were you down at Chorus then in Toronto? Are you in Toronto or are you out in Vancouver? That's amazing. That's amazing. What a small world that is. What a small world. Yeah, Big Brother Canada. That was like 2000. That was when Big Brother Canada, that was interesting because from my recollection of it, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, my recollection was it was around 2012. Toronto here, but haven't worked together directly. No, not yet. Anyhow, not yet. That's right, Chris. Not yet. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Amazing. That's amazing. My recollection of that was in 2000, and it was about 2012, I think it was. It was down at not where Chorus Entertainment is now. It was down at the old Alliance Atlantis building, right? Before Chorus or everything merged together, whatever, down at the Chorus. Anyway, it was 2012. You know what I'm talking about. And I remember going in there to record promos for a new show for the Canadian version of Big Brother Canada. And I recorded all the promos for the first season, I think. It was the first season. It was huge. And I was doing that simultaneously with also doing the Real Housewives of Vancouver, because it was Big Brother Canada and the Real Housewives of Vancouver, which was a new show. And I did all the promos for that show as well, for both seasons of that show. Because I think the Real Housewives of Vancouver only 2 seasons. And Big Brother Canada, I think, is still going. But then right in the middle of it, right after the first season of Big Brother Canada, I think there was a big switch creatively. Something happened in and around 2012 or 2013. There was a big switch creatively, and the new people that came on board, this is my recollection anyway, wanted to revamp everything and bring in kind of their own people, which sometimes happens, folks, in the industry. It's not personal, it's business, right? As the saying goes. And then they kind of switched over. And I think it was Martin Yap that I think was doing the promos then as well. But then Mike Pongratz, I don't know if Mike is watching, my buddy Mike, my VO buddy Mike, he was doing some Big Brother promos as well after that. And then he stopped. And then it was kind of a mishmash of stuff at first. And I don't know who's doing them now. Maybe it's the promo voice of Slice, if Slice even exists. Does Slice still exist? God, I don't know. Anyway. Very cool, Chris. Very, very cool. Well, I'm so glad you chimed in and said hello. That's amazing. And maybe we'll get to work together in the near future. That would be awesome. Awesome stuff indeed. So that's really cool. And Thrift Hunters, yeah. Thrift Hunters was, I'm not the voice anymore, but I used to be the voice of T&E, which is now, it's still T&E, but it used to stand for Travel and Escape, but now it stands for Totally Entertaining. And I was the voice of T&E for about 7 years, I think, 6 years. And then again, new creative people took over, wanted to switch it up and kind of switch over and whatnot, which is sometimes what happens. But that's where I didn't narrate Thrift Hunters. I was just doing all their promos for T&E. But still, very cool. Very, very cool. And My Worst Nightmare, which would have been the same thing. Yeah, for T&E, I think. That's so cool. That's so cool. I've never had anybody I've worked with or indirectly or directly chime in. So that's awesome. That's really cool. Bruce Knight says, Dave, do you think it's possible Michael and Jason exist in the same universe, but just in different states from each other? And before I answer that, what's also cool, Chris, if you're still watching, according to my analytics, only 4.5% of my viewers are Canadian. So about 78% or something are American. So it makes it even more cool that you chimed in. Small world, right? What are the odds? Do you think it's possible Michael and Jason exist in the same universe, but Jason is different states? as you guys know, I'm not a big fan of the crossovers. I'm not a big fan of mixing and mashing horror characters. I understand it's been done for decades, and you had Frankenstein versus the Mummy and the Wolfman. I get all that. But that just, I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of it. So, I mean, yes, I guess it's possible because Michael is in Illinois and Jason's in New Jersey, obviously, at least the first, it's supposed to be there, right? I guess it's possible, but I would never entertain the idea. No, I would never entertain it. That's me, though. That's me. Swifty the Gamer says, Eli Roth's History of Horror is coming back for a second season as part of AMC Fear Fest in October. Cool. We'll have to check that out. Arturo Lopez, I think I'm saying that right? Arturo says, how are you going to be celebrating Halloween this year, considering the times? Any adjustments or business as usual? Well, I don't get a lot of kids in my neighborhood, so I'll have to I'll ask some of my neighbors sort of what the pulse is, whether people are going to be trick-or-treating or not. I know Halloween's on a Saturday this year, which is pretty cool. So I think Tony and I are going to be doing a little something, little maybe special two dudes on Halloween night. Might want to tune in for that. We're sort of in the middle of planning that right now. So I think that's what I'll be doing for Halloween is I'll just be here on the show with you guys. So, but I know there are certain parts of the U.S. where Halloween has largely been canceled. So it's a little unfortunate, but it is true. Chris Parrish sends in a $1.99 super chat and says, what's Canada like in the summer? Never been. Well, Canada we are a four-seasoned country, so despite, like I always say, despite the American stereotype that as soon as you cross the border, all of a sudden we're in igloos, and it's not like that. There really is. Look, are there differences between Canada and the U.S.? Yes. Yes, there are. There are definite differences. I don't want to say that there aren't. There are. But it's not a culture shock in the same way that it would be very different going to Europe. You cross the border into Canada, and as long as you make sure you're paying attention to kilometers an hour now instead of miles per hour, it looks identical. It looks the same. I mean, it's the same. So we get very, very hot summers. We had a hot summer here. Like Phoenix, Arizona hot. It was very hot. We get humidity here too. So, it's warm weather, man. Being in Canada is like, in the summer would be like being in Pennsylvania or New York or Boston or Michigan, Illinois. Any of the Midwest northern states get four seasons, right? New York gets very hot in the summer, gets very cold in the winter, beautiful in the fall with the leaves. And that's what we are here. That's what we are. Now, certain parts of the country might see worse winters than others, like obviously out east, if you're in Nova Scotia, Halifax, New Brunswick, because you're right on the ocean there and things like that. They tend to get real bad winter storms out there. Here in Toronto, we get winter, snowfall, and we get hot summers. Right now, the leaves are changing and it's getting, it's beautiful. What's the temperature right now? Anyway, let me just see here. What's the temperature in Toronto right now? Toronto temperature right now it's 12:48 p.m. It's 16 degrees Fahrenheit. So Fahrenheit to Celsius. So 16 Fahrenheit. So right now, or 16 Celsius, I should say. So it's 60 degrees. It's 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So that is a typical autumn night, and the sun is shining. It's beautiful out. So that's what it's like. It's not the stereotype, folks. It's not. Now, there are certain parts of Canada like Nunavut or, the Yukon or if you go really north, like Arctic area, well, yeah, you're going to get a lot of, the natives and that kind of stuff. But if you're in, if you're down sort of in BC, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, Ontario, Quebec, and it's the same. Listen, I've traveled in the United States. I've crossed the border. I don't cross the border, to the US going, wow, it's so different here. Not at all. No, it's just like I've crossed into another province. You know what I mean? It's more psychological than anything. But are there differences? Yes, there are. There are definite differences that you'll notice, but it's not a culture shock. You know what I mean? And so at least that's how I feel about it. I mean, maybe some people from the States do feel different. I don't know. But I've driven from Ontario into New York. I've been to California. I've been to Florida. I've been to Pennsylvania. I've been to Maine. It's, yeah, that's how I feel. So in the summer, depending on where you are, yeah, it's very hot. It's very hot. Come to Toronto in the summer. It's beautiful here. Absolutely beautiful. And I mean like 90-degree beautiful. It's insane. Let me see. Okay. Did I miss any other super chats? I don't think I did. No, I don't think I did. Okay. 12:50. I've been going for an hour and 35 minutes now. Okay. Just a couple of more here. Let me see. Michael Myers says, Dave, would you do a commentary on Terminator 2 in the future? On Two Dudes, maybe. Not, well, I mean, maybe on my own, maybe for like a Saturday movie night for my patrons, maybe. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Nathan A says, commentary on both Terminator movies 1 and 2. Not on my, like it wouldn't be on my own for my channel. It would be either a Saturday movie night because my patrons voted for it, or it would either be Two Dudes. Yeah, it would either be that, probably, is what I'm thinking. All right, folks, listen, that's going to do it for me for episode 102 of McRae Live. Thank you to my moderators, Frank Riker, Tabitha Short, Darren Sands, and Jason Knight for doing what you guys do. You guys are amazing. Thank you to all the super chats that came in today, of course, and the non-super chat questions as well. And always remember, if I didn't get to your question, it's never personal. It's never personal. There's a lot of people. We had like 200 people in the room here, and I'm very thorough, and I like to, I go off on my little tirades and tangents and, anecdotal shit. So, but always keep trying. I'm always going to be here. Keep trying. And maybe I will answer yours in the future. You guys are amazing. I thank you for your continued support each and every show. We are growing this channel, and we are a community here of film horror fans, and it's just awesome. So I really sincerely do think you guys are amazing. I will be back Thursday morning at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time for episode 103 of McRae Live. And of course, there's always a chance there might be a little pre-recorded standalone pop-up video that might pop up. You never know. I always say that because it's true. You never know. Anyway, that'll do it for me. Take care of yourself and each other, as Jerry Springer says. And have a great rest of your Tuesday, and I will talk to you guys soon. Alrighty. Cheers.